Today's camera technology provides you with tools like autofocus, automatic iris, and white balance. But if you don't know how to use these tools correctly, they can often be more trouble than they're worth.
In many cases, the autofocus setting on the camera will be enough to keep your subject in focus. But in an interview setting, the interviewee's slightest movements can cause the camera to rack in and out of focus, making the interview virtually useless for broadcast. To avoid this, compose your shot, then switch to manual focus. Notice the manual focus indicator in your viewfinder display. Now the subject's movements won't interfere with the clarity of your shot.
Just switch back to automatic, or recheck your focus before your next shot.
You can approach the auto iris feature much the same way as the autofocus. The iris setting on the camera determines the amount of light that passes through the lens. When you open the iris, more light is let in and the image gets brighter. When you close it, it gets darker. In auto mode, the camera selects the iris based on the image's overall brightness. If there's too much light, like if the subject is in front of a window or a white background, then the iris will automatically close, leaving your subject dark and underexposed. In a darker setting, like if you're shooting at night, the iris will automatically open and the subject's features will appear washed out and overexposed. The best solution for this is to just move the shoot to better light, but if you're forced to film in a high contrast environment, then adjust the iris manually. First, turn off the auto lock on the camera. Then you can open or close the iris to let in more or less light as necessary.
Different types of light give objects different shades of color.
Sunlight gives a blue tint, compared to a reading lamp, which is more orange. Fluorescent lighting gives a green tone.
Now your eyes automatically compensate for these differences in light temperature. Your camera's auto white balance feature tries to do the same thing, but it isn't always as effective.
This is mainly because images are often bathed in more than one type of light. This office uses fluorescent lighting, but the windows allow some sunlight to mix in. There's also light from the desk lamp and the computer monitor. All of these sources make it difficult for the camera to automatically choose the right color correction. Compare the shot with this manually corrected one.
Manual white balancing recalibrates the camera to give off a pure white.
You will now be using the new color settings, so if you change your location or lighting, you're going to need to reset the white balance.
Using a camera is the first step in communicating a story through sight and sound. Beginners often forget how important sound is in storytelling. Professionals use their ears as much as their eyes. Let's start with your microphones. First, let's look at the lavalier mic. Lav mics use their own power source, so it's really important to check the battery and take a spare one before you leave for your shoot. Don't forget to turn the mic on with the power switch. Wireless lavs also have a receiver that has to be turned on too. Hide the cable behind their clothes by running it through the mic clip.
The lav mics are sensitive enough to pick up your voice from yards away, so avoid making verbal responses while your interviewee is talking. You can always nod. Instead, maintain eye contact and leave 1 or 2 seconds of silence after each answer before you ask the next question.
If you're trying to do an interview in a noisy area, it might be better to try a different location.
Using a lavalier mic allows you to keep your hands free in the stand-up. However, if you're in a loud place such as next to traffic, it's better to use a stick mic.
Like the lav, the handheld microphone has a power switch, so make sure it's in the on position. Use the stick mic for man on the street or anytime you're doing several interviews in quick succession, like at an event. Just like with the lav, keep the microphone about 6 inches below the subject's mouth, but never let them hold the microphone themselves.
The most apparent difference between a student story and a professional one is the use of natural sound.
Natural sound really helps establish a rhythm in editing. But more than that, it draws viewers to the location and enhances the image.
Gully bear. Gully bear.
The camera's built-in mic will pick up all the ambient sound and should really only be used for broad B-roll shots.
Once you've set up the camera and selected appropriate iris, focus, and white balancing, record about 30 seconds of tape, testing the microphone. This is crucial before an interview. It's your last chance to catch any mishaps or any faulty equipment before you record.
12:50 p.m. Transitioning from the 110 freeway to the 5 freeway. GPS, Google Maps estimates 2 hours and 7 minutes to get to the Cajon fire, which I'm not quite sure you'll get a decent visual now that we're northbound. But just a few seconds ago, we could see the huge cloud to the northeast. Can't quite see it there, John, but we're closing in on it. 2 hours and 6 minutes. We're not going to have too much time to prepare to get on TV with what I believe is lead in the 4. Look what we have ahead of us. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Hurry up and wait. Talk to me. 1, 2, 3, talk to me. There's a 4-second delay. 4-second delay. 4-second delay.
So Joel,
Yes?
what we're going to want to do is, of course, after we go off of that, see the flames you can see
Yes.
right now? That's a firing operation. We'll talk about that. Are you good? Good. So cut me a minute worth of VO, or it's a little bit of VO if you can.
Obviously, we thought we were the lead. That's okay. The lead was a helicopter reporter up in the sky. Our difficult dilemma was transmission. We can't get microwave. We don't have a satellite truck. We got to use a cellular bonded hardware. And then, since we were in a valley, they had terrible reception with our TVU type hardware. So we just came up as high, tried to get as much altitude as possible. They've got a very weak signal but usable. We're on TV.
Well, this massive fire is spreading fast and still poses a threat to homes on several fronts.
There's concern the fire could reach all the way to Wrightwood. A mandatory evacuation has just been issued for the entire mountain community, and KCAL9's Randy Page is there live. Randy.
We can show you why that mandatory evacuation is in place for all of Wrightwood. As we look in this direction, you can see that column of smoke. Let's take a closer look now. When you look at those flames, that's actually a backfire that's been set, a controlled burn to try to burn it in the other direction, because this smoke is headed directly toward Wrightwood. And also, we saw, by the way, threatening one particular home. There are a lot of structural protection there.
All right, apparently we lost Randy Page's signal there, so we want to bring in Chief Meteorologist Josh Rubenstein. He's checking out those fire conditions.
Lost us. They lost us.
See how close Randy is to those big plume of smoke out there. 91 degrees still on the fire lines right now. We've got winds in the ballpark of 17 miles an hour and humidity levels extremely low. Red flag warnings have